Bobo was 18 when the system decided who he was. Not who he could be, not who he wanted to become, but who he was going to be written down as forever. A killer. He used to sit on the edge of his bed in his mom's house in Minneapolis, headphones on, dreaming while rapping to beats about building something bigger than the blocks around him. His little sister and other relatives thought he was famous already. His mom thought he still had time. Then one night in 2006, Roberts was killed outside Stand Up Frank's. No license plates, no clear suspect, no answers. But somehow they found Bobo. Or maybe they needed to find someone. Why is Bobo still in prison? The question would come years later, but back then no one was asking it. Detective Bruce Fulkins had a case that was going cold. Cold cases don't get promotions. Cold cases don't get headlines. But solved cases make careers. Then came James, a man sitting in Hennepin County Jail facing 58 months for aggravated robbery. A man who suddenly had information. Funny how information shows up when freedom is on the table. No recording, no paperwork that made sense, no clear chain of truth. Just a deal. On August 10th, 2006, James had already signed a deal. His 58-month robbery sentence would be reduced if he worked with Detective Fulkins and testified in the murder. Why is Bobo still in prison? Because 6 days can change everything. On August 14th, 2006, Bobo, already locked up on a probation violation, was moved. Not randomly, not accidentally. Placed in the same unit as James. 6 days later, James was gone, but not before a story was born. On September 1st, James gave a recorded statement. Now there was a tape. Now there was evidence. Now there was a narrative. In the version of events that Detective Fulkins had created, Bobo came back from court and confessed. Said he was the driver. Said LS was the shooter. A perfect story. Too perfect. Because LS had already been found with the gun. At home. With the weapon tied to the murder. And yet no charges, no follow-up, no accountability. Just a conversation that Detective Fulkins couldn't remember and didn't record. Why is Bobo still in prison? Because stories are stronger than the truth when the system wants them to be. The prosecutor's office, led by Amy Klobuchar and Michael Freeman at the time, moved forward. No physical evidence tying Bobo to the crime, no eyewitness placing him there, no vehicle, no gun, just James, a man who traded words for time. And the system accepted it, stamped it, filed it, locked it in, and locked Bobo away with it. Years passed, birthdays missed, family gatherings empty. His little sister and baby boys grew up without him. His mom kept asking questions no one wanted to answer. Then came 2023, an internal investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. Findings, patterns of misconduct, racial bias, discrimination, a system that bent the truth until it looked like justice. But here's the part that echoes the loudest. No officers were discharged, no prosecutors held accountable, no inmates released based on false information, not one. So again, why is Bobo still in prison? Because Detective Bruce Fulkins was never forced to answer for missing recordings, forgotten conversations, or manipulated narratives. Because James walked away with a deal. Because the truth, the gun, the silence, the ignored evidence was buried. Because accountability is harder than conviction. And because once the system decides your story, it rarely goes back to rewrite it. He is a man now, but in the eyes of the system, he's still the same name on the same paper, tied to the same story that never quite made sense. So the question remains, louder now than ever. Why is Bobo still in prison? Why are officers not being held accountable? Why are prosecutors not being questioned? And how many more stories like his are still sitting in cells, waiting for someone to care enough to ask? Why is the Minnesota Conviction Review Unit delaying his freedom? We need answers.